We're recording.
All right. Well, sorry for the background noise, folks. I'll need to get a headset for next time. Apologies. Welcome. The Food Waste Collaborative, it seems like just a few days ago that we were in September at the conference in 4-H, nationwide 4-H building. But we wanted to try to reach out throughout the year and update interested parties in what's going on here with the Food Waste Collaborative, the Ohio State Food Waste Collaborative. And so I'm just going to walk you through kind of some of the things that have been going on. A few contributors are here as well. I'll note that since the conference in September, we've hired a couple of people to help us out with our efforts. Meredith Kruger, who's not on the call today, has been hired for the project we'll talk about down here below, the Campus Food Flows project. Add up. Meredith comes to us. She's an OSU grad who went to UW Washington for geography and is back here, worked with Jill Clark and now with the Food Waste Collaborative. And Julia Hilty, who is, we're lucky to have on the line, a lawyer who's going to talk a bit about our Ohio Date Labeling Revisions project below, is also on the call with us. And so we're excited to have these very talented people working on projects affiliated with the Food Waste Collaborative. Some of the initiatives that have been moving forward over the past several months, the Campus Food Flows project. This is a project, again, headed by Meredith Kruger, and it attempts to, and we're making great progress, to understand and to map exactly where food flows onto the Ohio State University campus, the pathways it takes through campus, and then for that food that is not consumed, where that food ends up, disposal, composting, other types of activities. So we're talking with OSU Wexner Medical Center, with dining services, with athletics, the three major food hubs on campus, to track down all this information. And we're doing fun things with dining services, such as looking at their plate waste coming through their all you care to eat facilities. In fact, one person on the call, Mike Fackler, has I think been coding some of that data. So it's been very stimulating. We should have some interesting insights into that. So that's moving forward with a hopeful delivery in April or May with some initial findings about those flows, so that we can then make some recommendations about how to improve that and move towards zero waste here on campus. If you have quick questions on these topics, I'll take a brief pause, see if there's any burning questions on them, and then move on to the next one. And we can loop back at the end as well. The Black Soldier Fly demonstration project has just been funded. For those of you who were at the conference in September, Dan Brown from Rust Belt Riders really kind of thrilled the audience with his presentation, talking about what they're doing to retrieve food waste in Cleveland and how they're using black soldier flies to, in a sense, speed compost a fair amount of that and then sell off the black soldier flies for food for poultry and fish. We've just got funding to develop a demonstration project here on Columbus campus and are currently in the process, and our partners are Dan Brown from Rust Belt Riders in Cleveland and Andrew Jones from Larvio Bioconversions here in Columbus, to help us formulate that demonstration project. We're trying to identify the exact location where this will be. Most likely it'll be in Waterman, but we're getting our P's and Q's in order on that. And looking forward to working with facilities, operations and development, Tony Gillen, part of the Food Waste Collaborative leadership team, folks from entomology, Dave Shetler, Chris Ratcliffe, who is in the education engineering department here, as well as SRE, the team, and in fact, so we're looking forward to getting that on the ground with a aspirational date to get that project up and running in late spring, early summer. Next project is an education project focused on Ohio date labeling and food donation laws. And Julia Hilty, are you on? Will you take maybe 60 seconds, 90 seconds, and give a brief thumbnail of this project?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
First time I've been on a video conference. So, well, hello. I am Julia. I joined the Food Waste Collaborative in November, and we started working on a date labeling project. The date labeling project is focused on a legislative effort to standardize date labels across food in Ohio, so that quality would have one phrasing and safety would have another phrasing. We've been working on what we're calling a principles of food date labeling document, and that document is really close to completion. And we've also been working with Adam Ward in terms of how to go forward with like outreach to the Ohio Department of Agriculture and representatives from the State House. We do have a meeting scheduled, so we're just starting that very early part of the process, making some feelers as to what kind of interest is out there and who may be in support of this project.
Yeah, great, thanks. We're looking forward to that. We think there's some possibilities that through education we might even inspire some people to change Ohio law if we think we can improve the food waste situation. So we'll see where that goes. But we're looking forward to that initiative. And Julia's bringing her vast expertise in law and her newfound knowledge of the food laws to bear on that. been a very enjoyable project so far. There's been a number of campus composting initiatives underway. And there's also point F on the agenda, student activities update in terms of various student groups as well. So Sarah or Sophie, are you on by chance? I didn't see. Mike, I see you're on. Do you want to talk a bit about your club? Maybe take 60 seconds, 90 seconds and talk about your various clubs on campus and what kind of progress they're making?
Sure, yeah. So I'm the president of the Food Waste Fighters on campus and the vice president of the Food Recovery Network on campus. We're working on a couple cool things in separate ways in each organization. The Food Waste Fighters is really just an action-based education group, kind of trying to raise awareness. So we're working on a photo contest, for example, that's sponsored by hopefully the Food Waste Collaborative, and the goal through that is really just to raise awareness of food waste on and off campus through various vehicles inside of the photo realm, whether it's actual food waste or humor or creative representations of what food waste actually is to people. Another thing the Food Waste Fighters is working on is a potential large hackathon-esque event that's centered around a corporate entity that involves issues inside the food system. The goal of that really is just to get students involved and interested in kind of food systems and how they work, and as well as to kind of give a greater education piece to the kids that go here, the students that go here, on how a corporation goes through solving problems and actually give them a chance to solve a problem inside of a corporation with again, hopefully cash prizes. We'll see how that goes. The Food Recovery Network, we're working on the first of its kind program with Greek Life to establish a Greek Food Recovery Alliance using hopefully, eventually all the Greek houses that have kitchens and being able to bring them all together to donate their food to people in need through hopefully the Food Recovery US people. We're also working with the Food Recovery US group with dining services, and we're putting together a kind of a strategic plan for dining services, food recovery as well. So at the end of the night, when like marketplaces or all you can eat buffets are finished serving and they've got food left over, finding a way to get that from point A to point B to feed hungry people using the food that would have ultimately gone to waste is kind of the goal. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the two student orgs. I can't really talk about the campus composting initiatives. That's more Sarah and Sophie's group, but that's it for the student activities.
Yeah, I'll note that there's a lot of interest in composting on campus, and we're just trying to figure out we would love to bring this, a location on campus where we can take this to minimize kind of costs, or to, and so Tony Gilland is looking at possibilities for expanding our ability to compost here on campus, including potentially a direct injection into agricultural lands of some of the food waste that's coming out of some of the food pulpers and processors that are at some of the major kitchens. So we'll keep you posted on those possibilities as well. But lots of student groups, Sarah and Sophie, are trying to organize into the residence halls to have composting. Julie, do you want to give a quick overview of the fall conference? And
Yeah, I'll just say a few words. I think many of you that are on this call attended that conference, so you have some firsthand experience. We did an evaluation afterwards. We had about 100 people or so participate live as well as on the webinar portion, and about 42 responses on the survey. And for the most part, it was a really well-received program with very positive remarks, and people found the sessions to be pretty helpful, which was nice. Our biggest audience by far were staff from public agencies that focus on food waste reduction, so we were happy to see that. But also a lot of students, academics, and others from the community, as well as private sector organizations. We got a whole range of topics, quite a diverse range of topics that people would like to see addressed at a future conference, which as we begin to talk about that and plan that, we'll be asking for feedback as we continue to do these regular virtual meetings. But just know that we do have, there's still tremendous interest, and we'll see what we end up doing for this fall. I think I'll just leave it at that.
great. Move on to scholarly outputs. Just wanted to show you a couple slides here. Does everybody see a PowerPoint slide?
Yeah.
Okay. So we just published a paper in the journal Food Quality and Preference. We think it's pretty interesting. We brought people into the Ohio State Sensory Lab, gave them 4 half-gallon bottles of milk, told them to sniff each one and tell us whether they would keep it or toss it if it were in their fridge. Here you see 4 different bottles were each different in terms of how many days past bottling. On the left, 15 days, which is 3 days before the sell-by date. The green one was 25 days. The blue one was 30 days. Purple was 40 days. The height of the bar is the percent of people who said they would toss it. So not unexpectedly, as the days roll on, the milk gets older and rolls by the sell-by date, we get a jump up in the intended discard rate. Somewhat surprising, it doesn't jump right at the sell-by date, so people didn't cue totally on that. The other thing we did, though, then we gave them another set of bottles, but we took the dates off there. Same exact bottles, same exact source of the milk, but we had versions of these without the dates on them. And once you take the date away, strange things happen. They kind of lose their bearings in terms of evaluating whether they would toss the milk. So in general, if the milk had a date label, about just shy of 50% of people said that they would toss the milk. Without the date label, only about 38% of people said that they would toss the milk. So about a 28% decrease. And it's a bit of a strange pattern. The post-date milk, the green, blue, and purple bars, that goes down by quite a bit, by about 40%. But the 15-day milk, the people who were there on the lab side or running the lab said it did have a bit of a funky smell to it. And there, the date label actually had help people to say they would not discard the milk. And in the absence of it, they actually cranked up their intended discard rate. So we've got a complex punchline here that the date label overall tends to increase the intended discard. But if you have kind of a questionably smelling sample that's before the date, having that date on there is a bit like a safety blanket, think, that these consumers may have used that to help ensure them that, yes, even though it has a bit of an odd smell, I would keep it. So that's out in press now. And we're got a press release that should be coming out in the next couple of weeks, so we might get some media play off this article as well. And we think it has a strong implication that improved education and perhaps improved labeling about date labels, particularly on milk, could help reduce the amount of milk discarded prematurely in the country, because these date labels on pasteurized products have nothing to do with safety and only to do with quality. So that's our big thing that's coming out right now. Let me see if I can, and then we've got a few other papers coming out soon as well. We've got the, we've got a PLOS paper at PLOS 1 that is in the final stages. Should be coming out, we think, probably in March or April, where we document the amount of plate waste on average across 50 people who took extremely detailed photos of their plates. This is a group down at Louisiana State that we work with, Corby Martin and his group. And we document very low rates of plate waste among this population. So it'll be very interesting to see much lower than any other groups have been documenting in terms of the amount of plate waste. We think that's because most plate waste has been documented in school cafeterias where kids are kind of forced to take certain types of food. But we've got a number of other manuscripts out there. Dan Yi Tsi, my graduate student who's on the PhD job market right now, she's got a paper out where she looks at when you tell people that food waste is bad, they typically reduce the amount of food waste in kind of all you care to eat settings. But she's very interested in how they reduce that food waste. You could do two things, right? You could take as much as you always did, but clean your plate. Or you could reduce the amount you take and clean your plates. Or you could take the amount you always did and then keep wasting a lot. The good news is she finds that people take less as part of that when they respond to the, hey, food waste is a bad thing, you shouldn't do it. They tend to take less in an all-you-care-to-eat setting, and then they tend to clean their plates more often, but with a lesser amount. So we think this is good news, that informational campaigns aren't going to induce people to eat too much and cause problems with obesity. So that's kind of the punchline that she's finding there, and she hopes to get that into an academic press for review soon. In terms of some of the grants we have going on, we've got our USDA grant. The Food Waste Measurement app is up and running as a beta. We've got some data from a pilot that was done last spring that's now cleaned up and ready for us to analyze. So we'll be analyzing that this spring. That's where our friends at Louisiana State, our collaborators, brought in 18 people into their lab, had them eat a meal, take some pictures of their plates, take a look at some food that had been prepared, and make estimates of the amount of food waste, both using a precursor to our current app and as well as using paper and pencil measurement techniques. And so we'll be analyzing the efficacy of those two approaches because all the waste was measured quite precisely. So we're looking forward to analyzing that data. Food Waste Collaborative members, Emily Buck and Annie Speck and I are getting ready to deliver some final reports to the USDA about evaluating their website further with food and make some suggestions for how to improve that site, which is a repository of a lot of great information about food waste, very authoritative in terms of its coverage of food waste documentation here in the US. That's further with food. And then we've got a couple other USDA cooperative agreements. We got a couple of seed grants that were funded here on campus with new collaborators, Nicole Sintoff in the School of Environment and Natural Resources, and Kathy Zhao in the Department of Industrial and Systems Engineering. So looking forward to all of this. I've been doing some presentations during the fall, food and Foundation for Food and Agricultural Research. Went to San Antonio and talked to the sustainability directors of universities. I'm going to go to the big composting conference in Las Vegas in April, so talking about the work of the collaborative there. Let's see, let me find the other thing to share, the main agenda here. Apologies for the slowness here. And we're looking forward to some next rounds of grants. We think there might be an opportunity at NIH coming up in the near future. And we've been talking with the World Wildlife Foundation, who's very interested in food waste. And we may target a joint project with the Walmart Foundation here in the spring, depending on how conversations with those groups go. So looking forward to trying to find more funding to use the app, refine that, and to just do more basic research about food waste and how we can prevent that, divert it, and improve sustainability. In terms of the fifth point, we're hoping to grow our ranks here in terms of university membership. We've got collaborators on campus that we hope to recognize a bit more formally with the collaborative so that they can use our name and grant applications, and so that we can follow up on them for feedback about collaborative efforts as well. And in terms of perhaps community members as well that are working on active projects with us as well to kind of slowly increase kind of our formal, quote unquote, formal membership. We're not terribly formal, but somewhat more formal in terms of membership roles. I'll wrap it up there and see if there are any questions or comments or thoughts for the good of the order. We're getting close to time here. People are muted, so if you're trying to ask a question, remember to unmute.
Mm-hmm. Brian, I'll just add that, this is our first attempt at trying to reach out to our stakeholders this way, and we hope that you at least found it valuable, and we'll continue to organize something like this maybe on a quarterly basis to bring people up to speed on what the collaborative is doing, and perhaps seek your input on some future programming.
Yeah, I really appreciate people tuning in. If we want to get more interactive, or if there's a particular one of these papers or projects you'd like us to go into more depth about for a 20-minute webinar dedicated to one of these, feel free to email me, and I'd be happy to do one of these on a more regular basis for particular projects if that really interests people. Or if we need input on one of these, we might put out a call and kind of push from our side to add people to that call. So with that, we'll wrap it up, and thanks so much for participating, and hope to see or talk to you or email with you soon. Thanks all.
Everybody. And we are recording, and we will share this afterwards with everyone who was on the call and beyond. So thank you so much.
Great.